do today, we started looking at yesterday we looked at the economy, both micro and macroeconomics, because those two concepts or those two areas do have significant implications for investing. What we're going to look at today, we're going to look at two very, very important concepts today. Time value of money and risk, as dealing with risk. So we're going to start off with time value of money, and probably if I have my clicker, that may go a little bit better. Right. The time value of money, is one of the most important concepts in finance. I mean, if you ever go on to do further work in accounts, finance, economic, actuarial science. Anybody here interested in actuarial science? Yes, I see one hand there. You're going to meet this concept, so you're getting a head start. And time value of money, the way I usually approach this. Okay. Jaden Rowe. All right, so the way I usually ask students to get a concept of time value of money is, suppose you have a choice, and the answers are up here already, so let me take that out. Suppose you had a choice. I told you that, well, I can give you $100 today, whatever currency you want that to be in, not Jamaican, or I can give you $100 next year. And you had a choice. Which one would you choose?
Today.
Why?
Next year.
You have it now, and if I have it now, so what? I will get it next. I mean, you could have it next year too. What's that? You want it now, so that you can spend it, you can consume it, you can do whatever it is that you want. You don't have to wait. Is that what you're saying? You don't want to wait. Come on, you had any other reasons why you'd want it? You want it today or you want it next year?
Next year.
Why you want it next year?
Because
The currency change, so you're saying, oh, so you're a foreign exchange trader, right? So you're saying that, well, if it is US dollars, the $100 US dollars next year might work more than the $100 US today. Okay, if the currency appreciate, okay. Anybody else want to say whether they prefer it this year or next year? Same $100. You must have an opinion, man. You want it this year or you want it next year? Yes, sir.
This year.
This year, why?
First of all, it will give us the opportunity, give me the opportunity to invest in and gain money over time from the returns from it. Second of all, we live in an inflationary environment where usually the money depreciates in most currencies. So $100 of today, as Abigail said, is all as to be $1 next year.
Oh, what? Working $1 next year?
Yeah.
Abigail, you whispered that in his ear. You didn't want to tell us yourself? All right. And I like the responses, apart from Kumar, who is looking at currency exchanges, which really complicates the matter. But I should tell you that I should actually just stick to Jamaican dollars. But you're correct. You don't want to wait to spend it. You are worried about inflation, and you're also worried about something called opportunity cost. And we're going to hold that definition of opportunity cost for a little, just for a few moments. I will delve into it. All right, second question. Suppose I gave you a choice of $100 today and $150 next year. No, let me not say $150, $110 next year. How does that change? That change your mind? So you'd wait for 110 next year? Because you're willing to wait to get a little bit more. That's what you're saying. All right. Abigail and Jonathan, change your mind? Still want it because you still think there's an opportunity for investment. Kumarko, $100 today versus 110 tomorrow, next year. $100 today versus choice between $100 today and $110 next year. Not so sure. Yes, sir.
Would it be more valuable $100 right now than
100
next year?
Then 110 next year.
We're used to it right now.
All right. Last question. But I hear I hear what you're saying. Last question. Suppose $100 today and $150 next year. You definitely wait it. Right? If you're waiting for $10, you'll wait for $50.
I'm still taking $100 now.
You're still taking $100
If
today.
you invest in it properly, you can make a lot more than 150 next year.
If you take it, you have the opportunity, as Jonathan, is it Jonathan? Jonathan and Abigail are saying that, yeah, I think I can make more than 100. I can get more than 150 next year if I get $100 today. You sure about that? You know what rate of return you'd have to earn to make more than $150 next year? Huh? No, not quite 100%.
Maybe 30 to 40%.
No, you know how to do that calculation? You know to calculate percentage increase? Anybody know this formula? You take the amount that you have at the end, subtract the amount you have at the beginning, and divide it by the amount you have at the beginning.
That is like when you're doing a business
Related, but it's called the rate of return. You don't know that? Sorry. That's how we calculate the rate of return. You never had to do percentage increase in math? How you calculate percentage increase? Well, I'm reporting on to a maths teacher. You know, remember, what's that? You don't know, no, you don't remember? Minus 150 minus 100 divided by 100, according to my math. Right? It's 0.5. 50 divided by 100 is 0.5, right? So it's a 50% rate of return. This young man here, I tell me about 30-40%, you come close. Okay? So, what you're saying is that you can invest, you can take your $100. For you to say that what you're telling me is that you can find an investment that's going to, whose rate of return is going to exceed 50%. Realistically, very few legal activities are going to give you that rate of return. On average, if you're investing in the stock market, and this you wouldn't know, so I'm just going to and letting you know this. On average, the stock market year on year will return you about 10-12%. Your bank account, somebody had told me earlier that your savings account gives how much percent? 1%? Half percent? So when you're making that decision between how much you're going to accept, or what if you're going to make that choice between accepting an amount of money today versus another amount of money, you can just calculate this rate of return or the percentage increase, and then you can ask yourself, can I really invest and get a 50% return? Or when I asked about 100 versus 110, what rate of increase was that between 100? If I'm comparing 100 and $110, what rate of return is that? If I start with 100 and finish up with 110, what rate of return is that? 10%. Now, when you tell me that you can find an investment that is going to give you excess of 10%, that's reasonable. but 50% may not be reasonable. But that's how you're going to make the decision of some of how you're going to make the decision of whether you're going to take the money now or wait into the future. That's one thing. That's the interest rate. Right. Everybody okay with this little formula here? And how we use it to determine whether or not we want to get the money or we want to invest it? Any questions? I don't sound so confident. What's that? Repeat? Alright, so I'm saying this rate of return formula is what you're going to use, or one of the things that you're going to use to enable you to assess, to determine whether or not you're going to take the money today, or you're going to let it stay until, or you're going to take the higher amount in the future. It all depends on what you think you can do with the money if you were to have it today. And if you think you can, when you use this formula and calculate the rate of return, if you think you can invest and get a higher rate, you take the money up front and do whatever you want to do. Or you say, you know what, let me wait and get the higher amount a year later. You had your hand up, sir? Any questions? No. So we understand, one of the things you have just told me that you have understood is that you have understood the concept of time value of money. That money in one particular instant, one particular period, can have a different value from another period. So $100 is not the same as $150. $100 today is not the same as $100 next year, and we're keeping currency constant. Now the other, there are some, and this is embodied in these three things. Why it is that $100 today is not the same as $100 later. Jonathan and Abigail said inflation, which is true, because as inflation is the rate of increase of prices, and as prices go up, it's going to cost more for you to buy the same basket of goods. So we have inflation down. Everybody understand how inflation works? Let me repeat that. How does inflation work? The prices are going to go up, and inflation measures how much prices go up by. So if last year, you all think about going back to school, right? So if last year the exercise, can I use exercise book at school? If last year the exercise book was $100, anybody know the price of exercise book? Because I am clueless. How much? Anybody know the price of exercise book? $150? I don't know, you know. Huh? $150 for the exercise book. That was last year. You think it's $150 this year? It went up. And that increase represents inflation. And we're going to assume that the only thing that matters there is that inflation is the exact same exercise book, is not a different exercise book, right? So that's inflation. That's how inflation works. And in most economies, most of the time, here we're talking about econ again, inflation prices are going to go up, right? So you're correct. You're better off taking the $100 today rather than $100 next year, because you can't buy back the exercise book, among other things. So that's the first one. The third one is what, I'm going to get the names right tonight. These people, three names I'm going to get. Jonathan, Abigail, Logan, Kumako, Nathaniel. And you tell me already, you know. Said more than once, right? I'm going to learn it. Nathaniel says she wants to consume our $100 now. So that's another reason why you prefer, you know, you have to look at, well, okay, and it also ties back with the opportunity cost that Jonathan speaks about. If I don't take the money today, I am giving up the ability to consume or to invest, so there's an opportunity cost. So some of us may say things like, well, you know what? I need Martin, don't complicate this.
No.
Because I know what you're going to say, you need it, you, whatever, but we'll keep it simple. So you're going to say that, well, you know, my desire for consumption is such that I want to do it today, and I'm not going to wait for tomorrow. So that's one reason why you may prefer $100 today. The other reason related to opportunity costs is that I can do something with the money. As Chad? Is that Chad?
Yes.
Yeah, man, I remember her name. Chad says he can go and invest it. So there's that other opportunity, the opportunity cost is what you give up. So you're going to give up being able to go spend the money today because you think you can go invest it and earn some money. So again, that is part of it. And the one part that most people miss, even me undergraduate and graduate student, miss in time value of money is uncertainty or risk. I am promising you $100 today in exchange for, I'm giving you the choice between $100 today and even $110 or $100. And I am surprised, nobody here is saying that, well, I'm going to take $100 today because I'm not sure that you're going to be around next year, right? So you have to consider that too. Isn't that true? I mean, God forbid I might keel over, right? Or next year I might not have the money to give you. So that is the risk, that is the uncertainty. So those three things, inflation, the opportunity cost, whether it's for consumption or investment, and the uncertainty of whether or not the person is going to be around or the investment is going to be around to make that payment next year. And those are the three basic reasons that we deal with time value of money. Right, Martin? Yes? Ready to go on now? By the way, can you think of why it is that I'm talking about interest rate and time value? I'm talking about time value and interest rate and stuff like that, no? What that have to do with the purpose that you're here? What that have to do with it? What does that have to do with the whole idea of investing? You think it's important? Why? Apart, I don't want to, I hear from you already, you and you. I want to hear from somebody else. Why do you think we're getting into this point about time value of money and giving up this and giving up that and comparing amount of money here and comparing the amount of money there? Why are we doing this? Come on, folks.
I think it's to figure out which stocks is best to invest in and how to take the money like during inflation or prepare for it.
Ish. Yes, you're getting there. But we have to remember, that these are high school students.
Right.
So it's a very good answer.
Yeah, correct.
We really need to know what rate of return, how much money we're going to get when we invest in that Amazon stock, whatever. I don't want you to look now, but later on in the afternoon, the game will actually calculate a percent. You see how a percentage to the side? That is this formula they use to calculate it. Eh? So you can see how you're progressing. You can see if I continue at this rate, whether or not I'm going to cover inflation, I'm going to cover risk. Because every single stock that you're invested in, except for the money you leave there, does have some risk and there are no guarantees. So you're going to want enough on your rate of return to cover inflation so that you're not worse off in terms of your purchasing power. You want enough to cover risk because if it's, the more unlikely it is that you're going to get it, the more money you're going to want from it. Make sense? And the other one is your opportunity cost, right? So as you do your investment, as you do your research, you need to look, how has this stock performed? How has this particular investment performed? So as to figure out if it makes sense and you can cover all of those. Because if we can't cover all of those, you may as well just take money and go spend it, right? And then we also have And we also have the idea of, I know some of you, we're going to get into this just momentarily. Some of you are going to, you have your savings goal. You're saving towards the down payment. You're saving towards the down payment on the house. You're saving towards the car payment. You're saving towards any particular financial goal. Interest rate comes in it because it's going to guide you as to how much money you need to set aside. So those are the two reasons why we're talking about interest rate. You need to know what to expect if you can cover these three things, and it also helps us to determine how much money you must set aside to meet a particular goal and with the financial goals tomorrow. Everybody know why we're doing this? Because I like to make sure students understand why it is that you're doing so that you can pay more attention, because if you don't think it's important, you're not going to listen to me. But it is important. All right, so when we sort of gone through talking about opportunity costs already. And so opportunity cost is that every decision that you make, there's an opportunity cost associated with it. The fact that you're here today, there's an opportunity cost associated with that. And the opportunity cost is really what you give up. So what you gave up to be here this morning? Sleep. Right? So come in here, you give up sleep. The question, of course, and I'm not going to ask you to answer this, is it worth it to give up the sleep? Right? So every single decision that you make, you're making implicitly, you're doing this cost benefit analysis, is that I'm giving up sleep to come here? Is that worth it? And the answer may be yes or no. Right? So when you make investment as no. Not but it starts with N, right? Yeah, I'm in the right part of the alphabet. Natalia. No? What? Then what it is? Nathaniel. Okay, Nathaniel. Okay. It's saying that, she wants $100 because the opportunity costs are giving that up was too great, so she made that decision that she wants to do. And of course, like everything else that we do, requires careful management and assessment. All right, so more on opportunity costs. So we're looking, we have to make some financial decisions. We take into account opportunity costs. We take into account the interest that we can earn. Time value of money means that, as you all tell me correctly, that you want that rate of return so that it makes it worth the while for you to give up the $100 for some future amount. When we save, we are earning interest, but it means that we have to give up the ability to spend that amount of money right here. So your savings and investment decision is really a trade-off, really looking at the costs and benefits of that. So when I save or when I invest, I will earn additional money, I will earn interest, but so that's my benefit, but I am giving up the ability to spend it and enjoy myself today. So you're looking at that particular trade-off. Any questions, comments? I want you to understand that whenever you save, you're giving up. Whenever you save money, whenever you don't spend it today and save it or invest it, then you're giving up that opportunity to, and I shouldn't have, you're giving up that opportunity to spend on probably some particular wants. Obviously, if you have needs, then you have to spend that, you have to spend it because it's a need. Okay, more on to interest rates. Everybody know what the interest rate is, right? You see it when you go on your savings account. You see it, none of you borrow money yet, but you can ask your parents about this. When you borrow money for your car or your house or whatever, you see an interest rate there. So the interest rate is out there. You can look at it. You can Google interest rates when you get home, and you can see the various different interest rates. Now, the interest rates, we call that the nominal interest rate, and I know I'm going heavy, but sometimes we need to go a little bit heavy to get to where we need to be. So the nominal interest rate, that's the rate that you see out there, that's the rate that is posted, that's the rate that is stated. So for example, if I were to invest in NCB stock, I am going to get a rate of return of 10%. Let's say that. That's a nominal rate. And that nominal interest rate has three components. It has a component to compensate for inflation. Because remember, we say inflation is an important consideration of how whether or not you're going to take the money today or take it next year. It also includes in it a compensation for deferring your wealth or an accumulation of real wealth. So it's how much more you get after you cover inflation, and then the other component of risk is the other component of inflation of interest rate is risk. It's too heavy for them, Martin. It's heavy. Seriously, folks, tell me, it's too heavy? So when you see an interest rate out there, I'm going to repeat it, and them say we can break it down. Now Martin going to help you to break it down, because it's important. When you see an interest rate out there, it's three parts to that interest rate. So when you earn 20% on your returns, I was talking about annual rates. So when I earn 20%, when somebody comes to you and say, look, if you invest in this business, you go down this venture with me, you're going to make 20% on your returns. You understand that? You understand that concept? So I said, come into business with me because you can get 20% on your money or 30% on your money. That 30% must cover three things. It must cover, you must be getting wealthier because of that, real wealth. In other words, I must be able to buy more gadgets, shoes, whatever it is that you desire next year than what I can today. So I have to cover inflation, because a pair of shoes is going to be $100 today, next year it's going to cost me $120. Right? If I'm buying one shoes, I can buy a shoes and a slippers. Right? So that's what real increase in wealth means, that I can buy more things next year than I can buy today. So I get $120, that $120 must buy me more than what I could buy last year. So that's real increase in wealth. And that's really weird, and that's really what investment is all about, is that when I invest, the amount of money I get after 2 years, 3 years, 50 years, must give me more, I must be able to buy more things and enjoy more things than what I could today. That is what we call increase in wealth. That's what we call accumulation of wealth. You need to say that again? Martin, let me say that again. Right? So when we talk about investing, we're not just talking about getting richer. Because I can always invest and earn, put down $100 and we get $150 after 5 years. But the $150 must buy me more than what the $150 in 5 years must buy me more than what the $100 is going to buy me today. Or it's not make no sense. That makes sense. The investing don't make no sense if I don't actually get richer. Or let me put it another way. Who here want to be richer after 10 years? Everybody wants to be richer. So are you going to set your investment so that in 10 years' time, you still can only afford the things that you afford now? That makes, anybody want to be in that position? You don't want to have more than what you have now?
Yeah.
Okay, that is what we're talking about. Real, and the economic term is real, the true, real increase in wealth. So our investment must make us richer, and richer in this case means that we can buy more stuff. So if you want to buy you drive, well, you're not driving. What they do at this stage? Phone. Gadgets. So if you're richer, you don't want to have the same phone that you had. No, you want to have a better phone 10 years from now. Right? That is what we call real increase in wealth. So your investment returns must, should, if you're doing it right, should allow you to have more better things than what you have today. So that's the first thing. And the only way that it can do that, if the rate of return, the investment is going to give you sufficient money to cover inflation. So if inflation is running at 10% per year, and your returns are going to move you from $100 to $110, all you do is cover inflation. You're just buying back the same phone as you did last year. You want that investment to give you $115 so you can buy either a fancier phone or you buy a phone and a phone case or whatever it is that you need extra. So that's inflation, that's the rate at which you are increasing your wealth, rate at which you are increasing your well-being. And then the third one, which is always a tricky one to explain and understand, is that it must compensate you for risk. What example am I going to use for that now? Huh?
We're very worse. Ultimate risk is still anything like that.
All right. But in terms of returns. All right. Who you prefer, me or Maurice? Who you think is a better? Who you think is a? Who you prefer, me or Maurice? Yeah, no, you can be honest. You can be honest. Neither myself or Maurice would be offended. Who prefer me? All right. Who prefer Maurice? You can't prefer two people. All right, seriously, folks. It no matter. Neither of us are going to be offended. Who prefer me? Prefer as a person. You trust me or you trust Maurice? I should use the word trust, not prefer. Who do you trust, me or you trust Maurice? No offense. Huh? With what? With money.
Me, Maurice.
You prefer Maurice with money. All right, thank you. Anybody else? You prefer Maurice too, with money? Well, the smart, the smart, you know. All right.
Have a Porsche outside.
Yeah, thank you. You're looking at the car, right? And you don't know my car, but you know it's not that, right? All right. These two ladies, Maurice, they prefer you. They trust you more with money than me, right? Now, let us say we both promise you. You know, but I say, okay, I give you the choice between $100 today and $150 next year. And Maurice make you the same offer, $100 today and $115 next year. Who are you going to go with, me or Maurice? You're going with Maurice, right?
More reliable.
Because he's more reliable and you can sell the Porsche and get some money, and you know certain what you know anything out there that can give you that kind of comfort, right? They're smart, you know, Maurice. Okay. Let me ask you the question another way. I promise you, same $100 today, but I promise you that, what would I say, 115? I promise you, say, well, okay, I'll give you 117, and Maurice still at 115. Who you going to go with?
Because you give me more money, but it's my risk is right.
You answer the question. Just tell me, you answer me next question, sir. So I'll give you the choice now. I'll give you 117. I sweeten the pot, and Maurice still at 115. You're going to go with Maurice or you're going to go with me? You're still going to go with Maurice? All right. I'm giving you more, but you're saying you're more certain that Maurice is going to be able to pay you. And that is risk. So whenever you deem the person to be more reliable or less risky, you're going to be willing to accept a lower payoff next year. That's what you're saying, isn't that what you're saying?
But you won't cover the risk.
Huh?
You won't cover the risk.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, you can call him a certain. That is a certain guy to get the money, but you're not so certain about me. So even though I'm offering you more, because you deem me to be so less, no, you deem me to be more risky, you deem me to be less less reliable, less have a lower ability to pay me, that you're willing to take less from Maurice than more from me. Right? So that extra amount, so the bottom line is that when you deem the person to be more reliable in terms of giving you back your money, you're willing to accept less today. I probably would have, what about if I go up to 130? If I go to 130, I can't pronounce your name in there. Tanya. So, okay, Natanya said, to be able to convince her to go with me, I have to give her 130, $15 more than Maurice. And that is her compensation to go with the more risky venture. That makes sense, no? And understand risk and return. Martin, I just understand risk and return,
Yeah, that's it. That's risk and return. Just like,
that's risk and return. And trust me, if you can understand time value of money and you can understand risk and return, you can graduate them from, you can get your undergraduate degree, You can join the graduation.
Yes, sir.
Right? So, yes, everybody understands inflation. Everybody understands, I think most of you you have to get more money than what you had. You have to be able to buy more things than what you had today. And then the last and difficult one is, if you're less certain about you're getting back the money, you're going to want more for it. And those are the three components of your rate of return. Those are the three components of risk. So, Maurice is a safe guy, so you will accept 15%. I am the uncertain one, I'm not correct for that. So you want 30% return. I remember how we get the 15 and the 30%? I take the ending minus the beginning divided by the beginning. We done,
Anybody remember the first one? Oh, you have a question?
Yes.
I wanted to say, when we perform accounts, and we have to do like taking care capital, we learn about preference shareholders and ordinary shareholders.
Okay.
And that has to do with risk because preference shareholders will be offered like a fixed rate of interest, while ordinary shareholders would never be, they wouldn't be offered like an amount.
It's just a promise.
Yeah, it's just a promise. Yeah.
Right, so if you're investing in preferreds, then that is safer because you know for certain what you're going to get. If you're investing in common equity, it is riskier, so the hope is that you're going to eventually get a higher rate of return. Yeah, man, you're see?
Anybody remember them first farm lunch money? 5 years? Anybody else?
Remember
The lunch money in first farm. 5 days a week. Anybody remember them first farm lunch money? Alright, better question. What would be the cost for lunch per day? Because some of the schools use cards, don't you? Yeah. First one. From 450. Yeah.
$450?
Between 400 and 500, right?
For lunch?
First one lunch money. Yeah. Time for that money. Could you get that same lunch money? No.
You hope you don't get the same lunch money.
Well, you could, but you will die for hunger, right?
You'll get less food.
You get your, you know what I'm saying? Make sense? So in first farm, we say 450 could buy a lunch. Decent lunch. Cooked meal, chicken, rice, drinks, and drinks. No? Yes? Agree? For the most part?
450 could buy a lunch when you're in 450.
In first farm. No? Is it too small? Too small? Alright. Whatever that number is, ask yourself, in first farm per year, it's 450 could give her a cooked meal. Could you get that 450 now and buy a cooked meal?
No.
Impossible, don't it?
Oh, so that's just 3 years. Oh, so that's just 3 years ago.
Make sense? That's inflation at that time.
That's
Money.
inflation.
So that's it. So that lunch money, that $4.50 in my first farm lunch money was $50. $50. My first farm, yes, you can go work back ways now. My first farm lunch money was $50 and I paid bus fare with that. I bought breakfast with that. I bought lunch with that. And with a girlfriend.
Alright.
That's great.
Right? So you see, $50 worth miracle day. I know I can't give a first farmer $50 now. Make sense? Something that cause that push or pull. And that's the time value of money. That's the inflation. You could talk it. You could talk it. Make sense? And for that reason, if I am going to invest, or if she's going to invest, right, she wants to be compensated. The returns that she gets on the investment, just using lunch money as an example, the return that she gets on that investment must be able to, how much a box food now? How much? 650? 650?
No.
How much is 650? Any return you get must give you at least 650. Hold on. Or more. Because we want to create wealth. We don't want to just buy box food. We want to buy the box food, that's like a cake, right? And a fruit drink, and when you reach 18 and over, a glass of wine. Make sense? So we want to create wealth. So you want to be compensated for that change, that inflation change, that risk, that's what we're talking about. That return, you want to be compensated for that. So when you pick your stocks, don't pick a stock or don't do an investment that keep you in the same place.
Or worse,
Or worse off. Right. So if when you invest 2 years time, you can't buy the first one box food, you will have failed. And believe me, you don't want to feel that failure. It's worse than when you lose a race. Right? Because you know you have now gone in a hole, climbing out. Make sense? Make sense? Think about your first one lunch money, and then think about when you have kids. If you can give your child, suppose you have $50.
You know, Matthew, we might run into some problems, you know. But knowing some of these, they will go calculate and tell them here how much more lunch money they want.
Oh, yeah, later. Well, that's good. That's good. That's gross negotiation.
Yeah, right, folks. So you can go to InvesTeen Jamaica website and look at the inflation rate and figure out how much more money that you need for lunch money this year than what you had last year. Yes? Let me ask you a question. If you got, I'm just going to use round numbers. If your parents used to give you $1,000, how much? What's $1,000 for the day again? You go to school? About that? Yeah. All right. So we're just going to use a round number. Suppose your parents used to give you. Suppose last year you got $1,000 to. Matthew, I'm gonna say, what we're going to get with this one. Suppose last year you used to get $1,000 per day to go to school to buy your lunch money and your bus fare, what have you. And when you go to InvesTeen Jamaica, that's a website that keeps a lot of statistics about the economy. You find that inflation last year was at 7%. Can you work out how much money your parents are supposed to give you this year?
Probably.
Probably?
Like 1,500
No. Say you used to get $1,000 last year per day. And let us say, we're going to use inflation at 7% or we're going to use it at 10%. 7%. So inflation is at 7%. How much money do you think your parents should give you this year per day to go to school? How much? You hear the answer, sir?
Sorry, no, sorry.
Jonathan tell me says $1,070 a month this year.
1,700.
At least.
Not 1,700. Is 1,070.
Yeah, at least.
Jonathan, tell me where you get the 1,070. It is correct, by the way.
At least. Somebody tell him.
No, it's just mental, but okay, so.
I know how you get the 1,700, but you come close, you come close. All right, anybody can tell, you know how you get it, or you just, tell me how you get it. What's that?
I did it in my head.
You did it in your head. All right.
Go ahead.
I hardly hear from this young lady at the back, and she has her hand up. How you got it? All right, perfect, perfect. That's what you did, and you did it in your head. Beautiful. The young lady said we find 7% of 1,000, which is $70. Add it in. So and add it in to add it back to the $1,000. That's what you did. Beautiful. So when you go home this evening, this is a parent here. Can you close your ears a little bit, because we're sending the children to negotiate.
Not really.
What's that?
Not really.
Not really. All right. We're trying to explain inflation to them, and what the implications of inflation is. So I'm sending them to Statin, S-T-A-T-I-N, Statin Jamaica. Of that website, you can Google it, and ask them to figure out what the inflation rate is, and then tell them to go home and negotiate with their parents how much more lunch money they need to get this year.
50.
Right? So my apologies if your child come home and tell you that, you know, I need more lunch money this year. All right, we get the picture. We get the picture. And if you think because you're in a higher grade you should be able to buy more than what you buy last year, then you know that you need to move that up to take care of the first one, which is the rate at which wealth is increasing.
Yeah, and guys, we seriously wanted to go my meeting because I want to collect some stories and I want to compare it to my experience. No, serious. Because I want to see if you guys were better negotiators than me, or what you use for your arguments. Yeah? So please, and it might help some of the others who weren't successful to go back home the next day and drop some new arguments. Yes? But wait, how many people planning to actually go home and negotiate? Let me see your hand. Good. Come on to the others. Probably you have a dad or a parent like my dad. Just look at me like this. I don't know. Right? And it might be yeah, right? That was so my father. He didn't look at me.
What's that?
I said, my dad, he didn't even know if you should volunteer
To ask.
negotiation. And my friend here said it might decrease. So, but go, you know, if you present your arguments well, and I love this was my mother, if you present your arguments well, you may just be successful. So do your research.
But I will warn you, don't bother putting anything for risk. That is not, that one is a non-starter. So we want to leave in the risk for your investment. But certainly, negotiate. How are you going to start? Are you going to start at the inflation rate, or are you going to start at inflation plus real increase? Which one are you going to start at? Inflation, negotiation. When you're negotiating, you start with what you hope to get, or you start with something a little higher and then you compromise down to what you're supposed to get.
Start with something higher.
You start.
So then you can ask for what you really expect. So then they're like, okay, I just want that.
Okay. So you're going to add these two in, and then hope that you at least cover inflation. All right, folks. I think gonna get it on half an hour. I want to know how to calculate. You know, to calculate the increase due to inflation. And by the way, for the math, this young lady says she's doing actuarial science, so she's a math person. You can go home and you can show that this formula here that Martin put down is the inverse of this formula. All right. Okay, now we get into some additional calculation, and Martin are treading on serious waters here. We're going to do some time value of money calculation. They have that formula? So, when we need to do some interest rate calculation, because hopefully what I've been talking about for the last 45 minutes or so is interest rates, so we need to put some interest rates into calculation. And one of the nice things, let me see the formulas that's at the back of the book. Let me one of these. Anybody still have the little notebook? The little notebook? And you see some formulas at the back of the notebook? That's what we're going to try and do now. But we're going to see if we can do it as painlessly as possible. So we're going to talk about simple interest and we're going to talk about compound interest. Simple interest calculations are really simple. So but most of what we do in real life is compound interest. So don't watch the simple interest so much. It's really the compound interest and the formulas you have at the back on the back page of the back cover of your booklet of your notebook is really the compound interest. So simple interest calculation, if you want to calculate how much money you're going to have after 6 years or 5 years, you just use this formula here, the amount of money you start with times the interest rate times the time period, and that gives you the amount of interest earned. And I am almost sure somewhere along the line you have done simple interest in school. Haven't you?
Maths, CXC maths.
CXC math? But not everybody here did CXC math, right? Not all of you are, some of you are still in 9th grade. You do it already? You do simple interest in 9th grade? Alright, so no simple interest. Because we're just going into next. Anybody here is in 7th or 8th grade? So you haven't done it yet. So you get a head start for this year. Right? That's your simple interest. But really, when we are moving into the big leagues and we're doing investment, it is compound interest. You can use the formulas. So the compound simple interest, you just earn interest on the amount that you start with, your principal amount. Right? The amount of money you put in the bank, interest is calculated on that each and every year until you take out the money. When you do compound interest, assuming you don't take out the money, interest is then computed on the principal plus what interest you have earned. So that's why they call it compound. How are you going to calculate that? You're using the formulas on the back of your notebook, on the back of your notepad. Alright? And some of it is a little complicated. Anybody look at those formulas and feel comfortable with it?
It's French.
Yes?
Big
No?
league.
That's you're going in the big leagues when you do that. But we are in the big leagues here. Alternatively, you know about spreadsheets? You know about Excel spreadsheets? Yes? Those formulas are embedded in Excel spreadsheet. Easy. So you don't really need to do the exponential and stuff like that. Otherwise, y'all have your smartphone here, right? There's an app for that. Right, folks? There's an app for that and there are websites for that. So what we're going to do, we're not going to use the formulas that are, we're not using the formulas that are at the back of the book. We're not going to use those formulas. We're going to use our website to do that. But just a little demonstration of what we call the power of compounding. You see this graph on the left? Simple interest versus compound interest. And this is why compound interest is nice. But with me, this graph here. The amount of money, if you start out with $100, and if your bank pays you simple interest or your investment pays you simple interest, after 50 years, right? You will have just under $400 at 5%. That's not particularly exciting, right? Now, if it's compound interest with the same $200 after 5 years, you will have $1,200. Almost 6 times the amount. No, you have 1,200 times the amount of money that you started with. Right? So you might say that $1,200 not so great, but guess what? $100 not so great. So if you started out with $10,000, then that would be $120,000. If you started out with $100,000, then that would be 1.2 million, right? That's at 5%. So the first thing we notice is that compound interest, you're better off with compound interest than simple interest. Agree? Nobody does simple interest. All right, let's look at 10%. What happened if the interest rate moved from 5% to 10%? In other words, the interest rate doubled. What happened to the amount of money you have at the end of the 50 years? By the way, most of you after 50 years, you're probably around about retirement, right? The simple interest not saying anything. But look at the compound interest. Anybody can see what this is? Supply? The interest. It's another supply curve. Anybody understand how to read this graph? No? Okay. I don't know your teacher to read graph. All right. Because I'm not getting the level of excitement I thought I was getting. That means I don't understand what we're saying.
We'll try a different road before the graph. So simple interest is PRT, right? P times R times T, right? That's a formula for simple interest, right? Principal times rate times time. Clear? Okay, I thought, well, all right. Well, everything 100? So we learn it? All right, you're better. Thank you. I'll put the rate right here. So if we did $100, we'll keep it simple, right? The principal was $100, and the rate was 5%, and the time, oh well, 5 years? 10 years? 10 years. 10 years? You talk to me now? Over 100, right? How much is this? 50. 50? We get 50? We get 50?
Yeah.
Everybody get 50? Alright. Compounding, I'm going to show you compounding real quick. That's it. This is simple interest, right? Simple interest. With compounding, we'll call this year one, right? Different example, but to explain it. This time is $1,000, and let's say this $1,000 give you 10% per year. Fair? So $1,000 at 10%. How much you get? How much is that? $100, right?
Yeah.
So when it compounds, what happens in year 2? How much, yeah? In year 2, what's going to happen is that you're going to get 10% on 1,000 plus 100. Make sense? So year 2, what's going to happen is that you don't take out the money, you know. For it to compound, it has to stay. Right? So year 2, what's going to happen is that you're going to have the same $1,000 where you start with year 1. Right? 1,000. You earned 100 last year, right? Yeah? So plus the 100. And then you get 10% on that new one. Make sense, that?
Oh.
Make sense? Yeah?
Next.
Hmm?
100.
So this is going to be at 10%? How much is this now? How much is this? How much?
12.
Now again? Now again? When I start. Well, every phone have a calculator. This again? Yes? Hello? What me year 3 now?
Compound under one.
What me in year 3? You tell me what me in year 3. No, and you never draw the money. What?
Yeah, I don't want to.
So this plus this, and then 10% on that. Make sense? So this is, that's what I said, the compounding of the graph. Over time, the compounding, it grow faster. That make sense? Then you get the same simple interest every year. So that's what the graph say. That's why the compound line, you see it's steep?
You go back to the graph.
Yeah. No, but
Well, I think what we should do is,
Mhm.
so, they're very far from retirement age. But if we put a certain amount in and compounded it until retirement.
see what they think. Would I use Excel? Probably break down the
No,
break.
there's some calculators
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not going to ask them to.
Yeah.
But that is this, that's why I chose the 15 years.
Right. So see, so that's why the simple interest going to be generally flat.
Flat.
Very
line.
flat.
Because
right?
you're getting the same amount of interest each and every
But
year.
compounding is interest on interest on interest on interest. Right? Provided you
So it
don't
build fast.
hold the money. So usually we want when we are invest, as the doc said, nobody does simple interest at all. Because even when you're borrowing, people will try to lend you and make it compound. Example, student loan bureau. That's a harsh reality.
Yeah, so you're paying more and more.
So
So when you borrow, you're paying more and more interest. When you invest in and saving, you're paying more and more.
You're earning more.
You're earning more and more.
Right?
So what we're saying is that let us forget the orange line for the time being, because nobody no wants simple interest. Because you're talking about probably $300 as opposed to $1,100. Which one you going to choose? You're going to choose $1,100, all things being equal. So let us forget about the 100, this line. So what this is saying is that after 25 years, the amount of money in your account, if you have $100 and in earning 5%, you probably will end up with about $375. That's after 5 years. The same $100 is $100 you put in. You don't put in no more. Just that you not take out the interest. After about 25 years, you will get about $375. After 50 years, if you go here, 50, and you go up here, so you'll get about $1,100 for the $100 that you put in. Somebody this morning was saying you have a holy for $20 coin. Who was it? You said you have a holy for $20 coins. So take 5 of those $20 coins, right? Which is $100. And you put it in an investment. Go to NCB Cap Market or any one of those places and see if, and find an investment that will pay you $500. And you just have to take 5 of them $20 coin there. And by the time you reach retirement, that $5 $20 coin, which right now in your sofa or wherever, not doing anything, right, my dear? That will turn into $1,100 in 50 years' time. No, you're not doing anything. How that sound? Right? It's just $5 $20 coin. So can you imagine if it was, if you put more, if you take the $10,000 and you invest it and earn 5% per year, how much money would you have? If you take $10,000 and invest it for that period of time. Let me see if because I did what, GSAT or PEP or something like that, right? In my days I did common entrance. Martin, what you did?
Common entrance.
Common entrance. There's always a common entrance question that's similar to this. If $100 is going to give you $1,100, what $10,000 is going to give you? I don't know if you calculate that. if $10 is going to give you $1,100.
$100.
Sorry, if $100 is going to give you $1,100 in 50 years, how much will $10,000 give you in 50 years? Anybody know for it at all? How's a common entrance question? $100 today will give you $1,100 in 50 years. But if you have $10,000, how much? 110,000. Right? That's all more impressive? All right. That's this first graph. The second graph is that you take the same $100, the same five. How many people think they can find five $20 coin in the house? Right? That's at $100, right? If you take that amount and if you can do an investment that will earn you 10%, that $100 is going to go up to about $12,000. Yes? All right, take your $10,000 now and tell me how much that $10,000 is going to grow to after 50 years. You're not putting in any more money. So you take your $10,000, you're investing it at 10%. How much will you have after 50 years? The graph says if you have $100, it's going to go up to 12,000. How much your 10,000 going to go up to? How much? 1.2 million, Martin, she correct? $100 going to give you $12,000. So how much $10,000 going to give you?
Yes,
1.2 million. You impressed now?
Yeah. No, I just want to make a quick question.
Yes.
So she asked, how do we know the rate of interest that we're going to get on a stock?
Beautiful question.
Great question.
Great question.
Great question.
Because you want to figure out how you're going to turn your 10,000. Where she get up? It's Abigail.
Yeah.
Suspect that question, it sounds like an Abigail question, you know. So you're now looking at how your $10,000 going to give you 1.2 million. That's what you're asking Abigail. Because you're now impressed with it. You're now impressed with compound interest. No, that's a great question, and it is also a difficult question to answer. When we invest in stock, I think it's your friend Jonathan had said that unlike preferred stock, you get as the company becomes profitable, right? So what you need to do, the burden is on you, Abigail, look at me. The burden is on you. You need to make sure that you are investing in stocks that are solid, that can give you 10% rate of return consistently over the next 50 years. One stock not going to do that, but if you have a bundle of stocks, and I think most of you are looking at buying several different stocks, in the US, and I don't think the Jamaican market is much different, over time, on average, stocks earn somewhere in the 10 to 12% rate of return. Some years is more, some years is less, but on average, the over a 50-year period, stocks will return at least 10% per year. So find yourself a good basket of some good solid stock, and your 10,000 will be 1.2 million by the time you retire.
Yeah, if you're looking for a fixed return, fixed income, it's not that. You should be able to go on or preference share.
Recording in progress.
So that everybody get that? So you see how much power you have with what you're going to get? And by the way, and that's what you all come here for? To figure out how to get your first million by retirement? All right. I don't want a 10-minute stretch? Yes or no? No, not yet. They need it? They want it or they need it? All right. We're going to give you a 10-minute stretch, and then when you come back, we start to use some of the online tools for you to be able to see how much money you need to set aside, how much this, how much that, how much you can earn. How many people are interested in figuring out how to calculate the numbers I get on this graph? Right? When we come back, that's what we're going to do. And by the way, folks, this is hard stuff. So if you're not understanding it, you're not doing very, very well. Using the formulas at the back of your book, we're going to use the online version of them. And I found this website, Calculator Soup, that allows me to do a lot of the stuff. So if you work with me, Calculator Soup, everybody's in Calculator Soup?
Yep.
Yes? You should see something like that when you go into the Calculator Soup. Yes, folks? You with me? And I'm going to go to time value of money. And we are going to go to future value calculator. And one of the things, and this is all compound interest, we have left simple interest behind. Everybody's here with me? No?
Where do you go after this?
You're at Calculator Soup? You went into time value of money? Please go into time value of money. And then when you go into time value of money, go into future value calculator, basic. Yeah, do that for the basic. And you should be with me here. And let me ask you a question. How much money you have today? Give me some of money that we can work with. I've been working with $100 and that's clearly not impressing you. $1,000? Yes? You have $1,000 today? Alright, so we're going to put the $1,000. Martin, we're not going to use the formulas.
Perfect.
And we're going to use an online. You ever heard of Calculator Soup?
Just Google anyone you know.
Huh?
Just usually just Google. Yeah, just Google anyone pop up and try.
Alright. If you notice, if you look right here, you see this formula here? You look at the back of your notebook, you will see that formula. So we just kind of make it life easy. What? Alright, the F stands for future value. So in other words, we want to figure out how much money is worth in the future value. The PV means how much PV is present value, how much we have presently. The I is the interest rate. The little N, you can see the little N up top? That's number of years that you're going to invest. And the I is the interest rate. And it's to an exponential to take into account the fact that it's compounded. Like here, where every year the money interest is earned on the interest you're earning, you're accrued from the prior years. Right? So that's what we're doing. And so we have $1,000. Alright, and we're going to assume for simplicity that the period of compounding, in other words, how many times you get paid interest per year, we're just going to leave that at yearly. So everybody's with me? Changing that to yearly. How many years you want to invest it for? 5 years? So we change the number of years to 5. And what interest rate you think you can earn? What interest rate I must put here?
10 years.
10 years? So we have 10 years, we're putting aside $1,000 today, right?
$10,000.
No, tell me 1,000. They're going to invest it at, for 5 years, and we're going to get 10%. And so after 5 years, your money comes to $1,600, so you get just over half of the money grow by just over half in 5 years. Everybody see what I'm doing here? So you can, what's that? That's compounding. If it was simple, you would get $100 each year, $500 for the period, and in this particular case, you get 610. So that's the joy or the benefit of compound. Let me say that again, because I don't think everybody heard that. Everybody heard that? You all heard what I just said a while ago? If it were simple interest, you'd get $100 each year for 5 years, that's $500. With compound interest, your $1,000 grow to $1,600, so that's 1,610, so the amount of interest you get would be 610. So that's your basic, how much money I have now, at how much money I'm going to get in the future at a particular interest rate. We all on, what's that? Any questions? And you know how to get to the website. Yes? What else we can show them? What happens if you save $1,000 every year? Because in this particular case, it's $1,000, you don't put in any extra money. And we're all going to save, right? Out of what we have spoken about since we all should be saving. So you want to see what happens when you were, so keep this number in your head, 1,610, and let us see what happens if you actually save $1,000 per year. How many people can manage to save $1,000 a year? Yeah, tell me how many people think you can manage to save $1,000 a year. Right? $1,000 a day, some of us rich. Alright, so we're going to go back to time value of money calculator, and we are going to do the future value of an annuity. Alright, and we're doing it for 10 years. We're doing it for 5 years. Right? Same 10%. And we are going to say that interest is once a year, so the compounding. Once a year, you're saving $1,000 every year. Number of payments per period is 1, and we are going to calculate that. All right. So if we have $1,000 today and we don't do anything else, that comes to $1,600. You remember that? Yes? If we save $1,000 every year, how much we have after the 5 years? 6,010. That's all more interesting. You think you can save $1,000 per month?
Yeah.
12,000 a year.
12,000 per year?
Yeah, 12,000 a year.
Right?
Wait a second.
Wait a second.
No, I use the thing now. Stop.
You can save $1,000 a month, 12,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use the thing.
Same 10%.
Easy thing now. No,
All right, if you save $12,000 a year, I'll assume we're not even going to do. We can't actually do monthly.
No, yeah.
Just leave it as a year.
12,000 a year.
You have 73,000 after how many years?
10 years.
No? 5 years.
5 years. That's good.
Question up.
Mhm.
If M represents month,
No, M represents the number,
the frequency,
the frequency of compounding.
she put in 12 in terms of
Oh, so she, okay.
$1,000 every month. Right.
So you want to do 1,000, I mean, this calculator, it allows you to do it on a monthly basis. I was just doing it on an annual basis. So do you, I mean, so,
Yeah, makes sense?
you sure?
If I put the money in monthly, you never change it to 12. I'm going to be a higher number.
I'm going to be a slightly higher number.
That's 4.
All right. You want to save monthly then, instead of yearly? You want to save $1,000 per month?
Change.
So we can change that.
Change them.
Want to working alongside me, or you just watching me? You're just watching me, all right. Okay. So the number of period would
Say
be
5 years. Let's say 5.
number of periods, 5 years. No man, it's 60 months.
Wouldn't the M change that?
I'm going to look. I never do it with monthly yet, you know. But I know I have to change the interest rate from this 10% per year. We have to change it to, oh shoot, I have to do this. This calculator is not as bright as I thought. Not as intuitive. But anyway, we're working on that.
I wonder if keeping it the same and just change the component to 12 should change it. 5,
No,
10.
because they're asking me for the rate per piece. Oh. Let's do it.
Change to 12 now. Put that to 12 now. See.
Number of payments. No. Yeah, if you take it, you know, no.
Change everything.
Not good, yeah, but no more payments. Number. Oh. No, you're not doing it. You're not doing it. You have to do it on an annual basis. Yes, go ahead.
If we're changing it to month, would the number of payments be 12, put it into every month?
That's what we're testing.
Yeah, but yeah, you know what? I think this might have to be 60.
Fixed it.
And then we have to go, no, and then we have to change this to 0.08. No. No, man, wait, hold on.
Our rate.
Oh.
The rate doesn't change. Yeah.
0.008.
10% divided by 12.
Yeah. I just put 0.008.
Yeah.
You have to tell you everything, yeah. All right, so in essence, no man, this still not right, you know, Martin.
Goes on. 70 are children less. Some are still out.
No man, this.
Number of payments.
Because the total interest only on $47, that's all.
No, number of payments plus the 12%. Number of payments. But now here.
No. No, sir. No. Let me stick back to the annual. Because you do work the annual prior to it. You know what it is? You want a percentage and you want it in a percentage. Yeah.
Yeah, see that.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Now that we work this out. So if you want to save monthly, $1,000 a month, 10% per year, so the number of months will be 60. The interest rate per month is 0.83, so because if you do 10% per year, 10 divided by 8 by 12, is 0.83, so that's where the 0.83, and we're doing it 12 times a year. We're putting in $1,000, and at the end of the 5 years or the 60 period, we would have 77,000 or 17,000 in interest. That's what this young lady was asking to do it. That's what the person wanted to do. Yeah. So if you're doing it per month, same thing. Any number of periods, because you're doing it per month. 5 years is 60 months. Yes? 5 years is 60 months, people. If you're getting 10% per year, we're going to call that 0.83% per month, because 10 divided by 12 is 0.83. You're doing it 12 times a year, that's your compounding period. You're putting in $1,000 per month. You can leave the rest of the stuff. And when you calculate that, what is in your account is $77,000. So all who want to, how many persons here have 5 years to go to university? 5 years to go. How many years how many years you have to go before you go to university? How many? 7? What grade are you in? Oh, you're in first form. Oh, so you're lucky. So you have 7 years, and 7 years is how long? One set, we're working on. 7 years is how many months? No, you're not supposed to have a think about that. If somebody help him, how many months is 7 years? How many months in 7 years? 84. Right? And we're just going to assume that you can still get 10%. Young man, you're saving $1,000 a month. You can manage that, right? And you put it in a good account that can earn you 10% per year.
Good account.
A good investment. You will have $120,000 by the time you're ready to go to university. So if you any amount more than the 1,000 you think you can save, you go into this calculator, soup calculator, and you're able to figure out how much money you're going to have at that time. Anybody else want to see? Anybody else who have?
Some saving for.
Who I must speak on? Anybody saving for anything in particular? Anybody saving for anything particular? Do I hear a yes?
Nobody saving.
Oh, no, not saving for anything in particular? What you saving in particular, sir?
I just saved to save.
What?
Okay.
A new phone. How many years you plan to save for that?
I've been saving since I was 15.
Good.
Or a watch. How many years you planning to save for that? 2 years? 1 year? Okay, let's put in 2 years. So that's 24 months. How much you saving towards? How much money you putting aside each month, Marco, towards your watch or your you still buy a watch? Oh, smartwatch, okay. How much money you're going to set aside every month for the next 2 years to buy your watch? $1,500 a month? Or 39,000 can buy the watch? In 2 years' time? After you take into account inflation? All right, let me put it another way. If you save $1,500 per month and your account paying 10% per year, which is 0.83% per month, you can afford a watch that costs $40,000. That good? Anybody else want to have any other example before we move to another calculator? Because guess what? After this, on and on, because I have an exercise. Yeah, you have an exercise to do on your own. Any other questions on this? All right. Abigail, I know you say you change your mind, but you're going to unchange your mind. You want to buy a car, right? Work with me, work with me. You know how much does it cost your car?
Like
1.5 million? Okay. All right. What's the interest rate on car? Anybody knows the interest rate on car loans? 12%? 12.9? All right.
Interest rate high.
Go back to your calculator, and there is a loan icon, loan calculator. I'll just take the first one. And you see you're buying a car for 1.5 million. That's what you're buying. Your car is Abigail, 1.5 million. All right, and I hear that the interest rate is 12.9%. Right? How many months you going to take to pay off your loan?
5 years.
5 years, I'm told that you're getting. 5 years to pay off your loan, which is 60 months. Yes? And we need to calculate that. Is it a monthly payment? Oh, painful? You can't look on that?
Welcome to adulting.
Welcome to adult life. Right? And by the way, I don't know what kind of care you're going to get for 1.5 million. Without leaving you at point C. She can get a car for 1.5 million? But not a new car.
She did say fit yesterday, so yeah, she can get a fit.
She can get a fit,
Yeah,
but it's not brand
Not a
new.
new fit, no, not brand.
You can work with a used vehicle.
Reliable.
Reliable. A fit reliable, right?
Reliable, very reliable.
So you're talking about $35,000 per year over every month for 5 years for your fit. You can work with that, right?
Welcome to adulting.
What you want to do at university? Forensic science. And we're going to assume that you can do it right, and we're going to assume that we can do it right here at UWI, right? You know what is the tuition? UWI's tuition per year? Anybody here know what tuition for UWI per year? Most of them are the same. I mean, if you're doing medicine and law, it's different. Not too sure what forensic science and engineering, but I think the rest of them is kind of more or less the same. Anybody else? Anybody have any idea of what tuition is here? We have regular degree, not law, not medicine, not engineering. Per year? No, not that high, man. Call it about 400,000 per year. You is cheap, right? What's that? That's not bad. That's very cheap. If she were to go to a U.S. university, it would be more like 25,000 US, right? So it'd be more like, that is where you're getting into 4 million. And that's just tuition. So apart from tuition, what else you're going to need when you come to UWI or UTech or wherever you do? Sure. You're going to need your books. You're going to need to live somewhere. You're going to need food, transportation, a little entertainment, because you can't just study every single day. So you're going to need to budget for a little entertaining, and you're going to need transportation, books, food, personal items, all of that. Martin, you're more with it than me.
Correct.
How much you think they're going to need to live off per year?
A laptop.
And a laptop. How much you think they're going to live? Laptop is what? About 100,000? Laptop are more
1,500 US.
or laptop is more like 2,000, 200,000. How much food do you think gonna go in? How much you
Simple starter laptop, nothing flashy, nothing. Starter laptop, a nice one that will last the entire university life.
that you can get up to 1,000 dollars?
1,000 US, pay 1,500 US.
Okay. Alright, what about food? Come folks, we're working on something here now.
Grocery will be probably 40 grand a month.
How many can eat so much?
Grocery? Yeah. It's expensive, Doc.
Alright.
Spoke about this.
Yeah, true. Alright, So you could do that for 9 months. That's another 300,000-400,000. So we're gone. So about $1.5 million per year.
Per year, yeah.
$1.5 million per year conservatively.
Just to live.
Just to live, just basic,
Yeah.
not extra.
Not no flash.
You need about $1.5 million. The degree is 3 years. So we're just going to do it real simple. So you need somewhere between $4.5 and $5 million for each 3 years, right?
Alright.
And you're going to take out a student loan. Anybody have any idea what the interest rate on a student loan is? Okay. No, actually, student loan is relatively cheap. So let's say student loan is 6%. And you're going to borrow about $5 million. How long student loan need them to pay back? About 10 years? 5 years? 5 years? All right, so you're going to borrow about $5 million, roughly speaking. Interest rate is about 6%, and let us take the standard 5 years. You see how much you have to pay back? Move the cursor. Per month. So what am I trying to tell you? What's the solution? No, but you have to go to university. That's an investment in your future. All right. No, seriously, folks. I mean, I'm not that far from university. You're looking at basic living, $96,000 a month, $100,000 a month to pay back over 5 years with your student loan. That's a problem for you? No? You're going into actuarial science, you know you're going to make money. You know you're going to earn some good money, right? So you don't worry about that.
You're making multiples of that.
You're making multiples of that. Any way to ease that burden of 96,000? Or is it that me just don't think high enough, and I think $96,000 a year is, a month is high? Am I the only one that thinks that way? Alright, so what we can do? How we going to strategize? This is real, you know. Tell me what you think you can do to ease that burden. What's that? More months. Very good point. Negotiate. And let us say that you can get it to 7 years? 10? Your payment go down to 55%, 55,000. But you have it for a longer period, you're going to pay more interest, but it might be more palatable. Right? I like that idea of extending the time. Anything else you can do between now? You can save some money between now and when you're ready to go to school, especially my friend here that have 7 years to go.
Can you negotiate the interest?
No, that one you're going to have a challenge.
Tough time.
That one you're going to have a challenge.
Tough.
You stand a better chance of lengthening the loan. But the interest rate, I don't think I'm going to budge on that. You can save between now and when you're ready to go to university. Right? And we've done work out some saving numbers already.
So how does it work if you miss payments? Because
Hold on, wait, hold on. Make we deal with that afterwards. Because we're not miss payments.
Don't open that door.
Don't open that door, we can talk about that.
Yeah, don't open that
How much you think you can save? Let us say that you can save over the period. My friend here is in a much better position because he has 7 years to go. Right? Let us say that you can save and reduce the amount you borrow by saying it's 5 million you're borrowing. Let us say you can accumulate 1.5 million between now and when you're ready to go to university. How many of you have summer jobs? Except for this week. You can commit to saving a significant portion in your summer job.
200,000 a year.
So let's say that we can save and we can have about 2 million. We can shave off about
1.5, yeah.
make it 3.5. 3.5 million, so we're not borrowing as much. We're still taking it for 10 years, or we're going back to the 6 years, the 5 years? 5 years? So we're now down to 67. So if you can save some money, so you don't have to borrow as much, you only have to pay back $67,000 a year. Fine. Third thing. So you can save, so you don't have to borrow as much. What else can you do? Think through your budget game. When you're running out of money in your budget game, what could you do? What did you do?
Get a job.
Get a job. What's that? No, I'm talking, no, not going to pay well because you're going to school. So you might can find a job on campus, something in the bookstore or something like that. Huh?
Subsidize the food bill.
Subsidize your food bill. Because you have student workers, you know, all of these offices need somebody to answer the telephone and stuff like that. And you're right there on campus, you have to incur no additional transportation costs. That's an option, folks.
Scholarship.
Right? Scholarship is also an option. I was telling somebody earlier that the Office of Student Finance is here at UE. Sometimes I have to beg students to apply for the scholarship because they have money that they have to send back to donors. You don't understand that concept, right? Huh? You understand? Students don't want to apply for the scholarships and don't want to apply for the bursary. And I don't understand that. Alright, so if you're going to take a little job, you're saving some money, you take a little job, you apply for some scholarship, so this time now you only need $2 million to borrow. Agree?
You don't want to borrow.
And this time you're down to 38,000, right? And yes, there are some full tuition scholarships available, as well as some half ones. All right, folks, you get the picture? Get the picture, folks? And I feel like I'm losing them. Nothing you want?
Adulting.
Is what?
Adulting.
Adulting. This is too heavy for you guys?
Depressing.
It's too heavy for, it's too heavy for you? From what point of view? What's that?
Give your parents a hug later.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Give your parents a hug later, yeah? Give your parents a big hug. I think it's a reality check. Yeah, the reality check now.
Is it that this is too depressing? Yes. But guess what? It's reality, you know. It's reality.
Give your parents a hug later. A big
I don't want a $75 million house. How much it going to cost after inflation hit you at 8%? Or that going to depress you further?
Good.
Yeah?
Good.
Are you good with that one? You don't want to know, right? Huh? You want to see it. By the way, anybody know what $75 million can purchase them in terms of a house? Huh? Right, no man, you're purchasing somewhere. You know what $75 million can purchase here right now?
Where?
Huh?
I know what it convert. If you for one bedroom, like a little mattress box, is like 20 million.
What?
So like, I feel like that's can probably get like a apartment, like a two-bedroom with like nice amenities, like pool and gated communities, you know, security and everything. And here like 2 bathrooms, nice white inside.
That's white inside.
Like a hot house, but still too much money for that house.
So it's a 75 million, no, I've been told that 75 million can give you a 3-bedroom gated community with all the bells and whistles. So that's why it's your dream house. Huh? What's that? Mama, in 5 years?
Right, no. 400,000 US.
100,000 US is how much?
So the 75 is 400,000 US.
Yes, it's set for more than that.
I don't think that.
All right, so we're looking, how many years we have to go?
What was that? 6? No, they wanted to know the value after 6 years.
6 years?
6 years. They wanted to know the value of the house after 6 years.
119.
And interest rate is, inflation rate is 8%. And we're going to compound it annually. Oh no. And it's $75 million. 75 million. And another zero. Not too many zeros. Oh, I can't see. Folks, is that 75 million? Or 7.5 million?
60?
Yeah, may look at it and we can see it.
75 million.
One more zero. Yeah. Yeah, 119. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be 119 million.
That's the value of the house after 6 years.
Right? So in 6 years' time, your $75 million, if inflation rate is 8%, it's going to cost $119 million. Another depressing statistic. What's that? Adulthood.
That's a heartburn.
Heartburn.
Welcome to adulthood.
Welcome to adulthood. All right, we have the last one is more promising. I know. All right. So we are looking at 360 months. The interest rate is what, 5% per year?
5%. So
0.4?
per month.
0.4 per month. We're compounding 12 times a year. We are saving 10,000. Number of payments is 1, right? And we are calculating that. Right? That's a better note to leave you on, right?
Yeah, much better.
So if you save $10,000 per month over the next 30 years, and over the next 30 years, and no, it's going to be 60, and you're going to still be in your 30s, 40s. So in the next 30 years, you're 45. If you can commit to saving at $10,000 a month, that is ambitious, but you'll have $8 million, right? You not get excited about that, no?
That's not buying the house.
No, but you will have enough to make a down payment to buy the house, right?
So how much would the house cost after 30 years then?
Okay, there's plenty more. No, but you don't buy a house cash, folks, please.
Don't.
You don't buy a house cash unless you're married. You don't buy the house cash. You save for the deposit and then you take out a mortgage. What's that?
Opportunity cost.
Well, she said she wants to be rich enough to pay it in cash.
You wouldn't be rich if that's what you think. That's the truth.
And that's the truth.
That's the truth.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
You use other people's money where
exactly.
you
The
can.
rich will not use it now. Yeah. I think what opportunity cost. So instead of spending 75 million, that 75 million could become 150 million. easier.
All right, folks, that's the hard part. It is, I mean, these are difficult calculations. These are very sobering numbers, but it is reality. And the good news is we can always invest so that we are able to buy the house, buy the car, because guess what? I'm starting young. Because if you start now and you start putting aside some money, and I mean, you don't have to start at $10,000 a month. You can start at, what is a reasonable amount to start at? 5,000, you think you can save $5,000 a month? So let's say that you start at $5,000 a month. Right? And you commit to increasing that amount every month by, say, 2%. And you start out with 5,000, you commit by, say, increasing it at, say, 1% per month. Then you will have 4 million, right? So what you can do is that don't think about, if you can manage 10,000, then you start with 5%, you start with 5,000, and then you increase the amount you can save every month. And you will still, you won't get 8 million, but you'll be well on your way. Right, folks?
Right. It looks like credit qualification.
What's that?
It looks like credit qualification.
This young man is telling me that is our heart palpitation. But folks, I know this is hard. I know it is somewhat depressing, but look on the bright side. You're starting early, and you have the tools to invest. Well, no, you're supposed to do risk and return now. Okay, start that.
No.
I've exhausted the young minds. Maurice, I can't give them anything else for the rest of the month.
They're done, they need a long break.
They need a long break. So what are we going to do between now and lunchtime? We have about 15 minutes. Eh? What's that?
It's chill.
You know just one chill, right? And there's a couple of, one concept we have to get through. I know we worked really hard this morning, and you probably feel that you work hard enough for the rest of the week. But we still need to do risk and return. Earlier, I think you understand the concept of risk and return, but we're going to do it more formally. Start with a definition. What is risk? Or I should ask you, what do you think risk is?
Risk is when you take a chance on something even though you're not 100% certain.
All right, excellent answer from Natania. Natalie with an N instead of an L. Is all right?
Y-E.
Oh, Y-E. Oh. Natania. Ah, Tanya with an N. All right, okay. Natania, get it right this time. Says risk is when you take a chance when you don't know what is going to happen with certainty. And that's a very, 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 very good definition. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit more formally. So the definition is that it's a possibility that the payoff from an investment differs from what was expected, which is what you just said. And it is, another way of looking at it is to say that it's the inability, you do not have the ability, you do not know the future with certainty, right? So that's what risk is about. And that is life, except for short-term government in paper, investment into short-term government instrument. All other investments are risky because we don't know what the payoff can be. We try to do our research so that we can have a better idea of what's going to happen, but we never know that with certainty. One of the primary concerns that some people will have is that they lose all of their money or most of their money, the actual principal amount, not even to say, well, you're hoping to get 10% because that would allow you to meet your savings goal, and you only get 5%. That's bad or not too bad, but when you actually lose some of the amount of money that you start with, that's what most people are concerned with. So we try to do things in investment so that we minimize the risk, because we can't eliminate it and we have to live with some risk, because that is how we're going to get the larger portion of that. So there are some additional definitions, and yes, this is coming almost like class now. Your tolerance for risk and your capacity for risk. So your tolerance for risk is how much money are you willing to, you would feel comfortable losing.
$100.
Okay, out of how much? So she just tell, that's your tolerance. You don't,
No,
the most you're willing to
$20.
lose. How much money, what's your principal? How much money you starting with? And no matter the amount of money? Suppose you had 10 million. How much you willing to lose?
$20.
100,000. All right, so you're looking at about 1%. So you're willing to lose about 1% of your money. Right? 10 million, she says. How much you willing to lose? Because the other part about it, is that you have to take a risk, because you may be, because although she says she may be willing to lose 100,000, but she's going to do investment because she knows that there's a chance that she may get much more than the 100,000. So she said, yeah, I'm still going to invest. I can afford to lose 100,000 because that puts me in a position to be able to gain 300,000 or 400,000. So that's what we're talking about with risk, or the tolerance for risk. We know that all of the stocks that we're investing in, we might get what we think, but the bottom line is that we have to invest, because if we don't invest, then we're not going to get, we're going to get very little, we're not going to make money. I don't mean to call you out, but please you cannot eat in here. You can't drink in here except for water. And it's not that we're being miserable, and this is for everybody. It's just that there's an ant problem, and the ants will eat out the seeds. So that's why we are asking no drinking except for water, no eating. Because if you eat, you're going to drop crumbs, even as careful as you are. Right? And they had to change out all of these seeds about 2 years ago, and they don't want to do it again. It's expensive. So if you can, please, not if you can, the only thing you can drink in here is water, because the ants don't follow water. Everything else, they will follow. And we don't want, the seed them reasonably comfortable, right? You don't want to destroy the seed. All right, so no drinking, no eating. All right, so what are the factors that's going to impact your willingness to take on risk, or how much you're willing to lose so that you can gain? Age is a factor. Younger people tend to be more risk tolerant. In other words, they are willing to take on more risk. So as you get older, you're less likely to take on risk. So at your age, you should be willing to take risk. Why? Because you're young enough so that if you lose out, you have time to recover and make some money. When you get to my age now, I'm not taking very much risk because I don't have very much working life left to recover before I go into retirement. You were saying something, Kumako? No? All right. The amount of money you have will also impact the amount of risk that you're willing to take. Generally speaking, but not necessarily, the more money you have, the more risk you're willing to take. That's why I ask you, Natalia. No, I still don't get you right? I thought it was Nathaniel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's why I ask you how much money how much money you have, because when you say you're only willing to risk 100. So generally speaking, that don't work linearly. It's not one for one that when you're very poor you take very little risk, and when you're very rich you take lots of risk. It don't exactly work that way, but on average, the wealthier you are, the more willing you are to take risk, the higher your tolerance for risk. Your goals should determine how much risk you're willing to take. The longer your time horizon, the more risk you should be willing to take, because that gives you time to recover if your investments don't pan out. The amount of experience you have, again, this is one that cuts both ways. If you have a lot of experience in investing, then we take what we call informed risk. You can take the risk because you understand what's going on, right? So generally speaking, the more experience you have, the more knowledge you have, the more willing the greater your risk tolerance. But it also works the other way. If you know absolutely nothing about what you're doing, and then out of sheer ignorance, you take on a lot of risk. So sometimes we find that. But generally speaking, the more experience, the more knowledge you have, the more risk you're willing to take on. And then a lot of it comes down to personality. Some of us are just naturally willing to take risk, and some of us are just staying away from risk. Is that true? Show of hands, how many people are willing to take on risk? Fair amount of risk. All right, how many people not so sure that they want to take on much risk? Very interesting. Normally guys guys are willing to take the risk. And I can put up my hand in the no risk category. Even when I was the minimal risk, even when I was younger, I was in the minimal risk category. All right. And these are just some additional risk tolerance, risk definition. You have the ones who are aggressive. We say they are aggressive in their risk tolerance. It means that they're willing to take on highly risky investments because that promises much higher rates of return. And then the moderate people, they're willing to take on some risk so that you can increase your returns. And the very conservative investors are the ones that are going to take on low risk and accept lower returns. You sure you're low risk? Didn't you say that you were going to take weren't you the one that said you're right, you're low risk. Because you said you wouldn't accept the high amount of money from me over Maurice. You're right, you're the low risk person. All right, so the first exercise that we're, oh, you want to go back to that? Okay. Anybody here have an idea about where their risk tolerance would fall? If it's high, aggressive, medium, or conservative? You're moderate? Moderate? Or am I aggressive risk takers? Yeah. Risk, just a lot of risk because the possibility of getting high returns. Who is aggressive? I see one hand, I see two hands, I see three hands, four hands. Well, you need to be aggressive because you want to buy a Rolls Royce. And you're not going to get your Rolls Royce unless you take a significant amount of risk. Right? Still writing? Who are my low risk persons? Conservative. You are conservative? I'm going to convert you to moderate.
I'm moderate.
Moderate? You sure you're not aggressive? You're high risk, I suspect that. But, oh, you're probably moderate then. Who are my conservative people that don't want? No. I asked about the aggressive already. Who are my conservative investors that are going to, invest in low risk. I'm going to talk about low risk and high risk instruments in a little bit. Who are my low risk persons that don't want to take on much risk, but you're willing to accept the lower returns? That's you? Anybody else? Everybody else is moderate risk then? Kind of in the middle of the road? You're taking on some risk, but not too much, so that you can get a little bit more than mediocre returns? That's where the rest of you people are? All right, we're going to see that. Except you. You say you're high risk.
No, I'm asking aggressive risk. Isn't that going to take a lot of luck?
Look. No, you're just going to invest in really risky. You're going to create an investment portfolio that has a lot of risk in it. You know that you can lose money, but you also know that if you gain a lot. So it's not that you're depending on luck. Well, you're hoping that you get lucky and always be, getting a lot, but you recognize that, there's a chance that I will lose some money. But the difference between that and luck is that you recognize that you can lose, and you're comfortable with the fact that you can lose money. You change your mind from being aggressive?
I was always aggressive. I was moderate.
Oh, you're always moderate. Okay, you finish. All right. So what I want you to do is go do this risk tolerance. Y'all predetermine what you are. I'm going to ask you to do an exercise that will determine if in truth and in fact. That will try and give you a better sense of your risk tolerance. How I know if I'm taking on too much risk? If over time I see my portfolio values doing like that. It goes very high, very low, very high, very low. That means, and I'm balanced or conservative, that means I have too much risk. My portfolio returns over time, and if you're into anywhere that you're investing real money or otherwise, your portfolio returns should be, if you're conservative or balanced, it shouldn't change that much over time. It should be going up over time, but it should be going up in small waves. For my friends who are very ultra risky or ultra aggressive, you would expect their portfolios to be going up, but it will be taking these very, it will take these wild swings as it goes up. So that's how you evaluate your portfolio after time to determine if you're too risky or if you're too let me start again. If you're an aggressive investor and you look at your portfolio over time and you barely see changes in the values, that means you're not taking on as much risk as you can bear. Your portfolio should be going up with wide swings. If you're conservative or balanced and you look at your portfolio values after a while and it goes like that, it means that you're taking on too much risk, because it should take gentle waves rather than massive spikes. So that's how you're going to check if you're taking on too much risk or too little risk based upon your profile. All right. I had this slide up yesterday and I'm putting it up back again today because I think it may make a little bit more fitting again. These are different types of instruments. Your money market, your short-term instruments. These are short-term. The government wants to borrow money for the short term. That's your treasury bill. Dead safe. Very, very safe. So all of you ultra-conservative people are going to should have your portfolio with a fair amount of these money market instruments. You can always put in your tax exempt. If you are if you are very, very aggressive, then your portfolio will have a lot of equity on the long-term side. Will have a lot of equity stocks, and you're going to be in industries that can grow significantly, like your tech industry, your biotech industry, your which industry you think is volatile? is going to have wide swings, apart from tech and biotech. Utilities, you think the value of utility companies is going to change? You know, like a water company or electric company, that won't change a lot over time? No, so you don't want that. Somebody was talking, a group over there was into NVIDIA. That's the name of the company. That's in the chip sector. You think those returns are going to change significantly over, you know, those are going to have lots and lots of changes, or you think they're just going to have little baby changes? Little baby changes? Big changes? Well, that's going to be a high risk industry. Yes, sir. They lost a lot of money, so sometimes they're going to lose big and sometimes they're going to gain big, right? Yes, folks, because somebody was interested in that company over there. So you look for it, if you're really into being aggressive, you're looking for those stocks that are going to change significantly from time to time. And if you're conservative, you're going to be looking for the stocks that kind of just gently move along over time, right? And you do that mix. And if you're also conservative, then you're going to get into bonds or long-term loans. The platform that you have do not allow you to invest in bonds, at least I don't think so, but for future reference. All right, here it is. So in practice, if you have an aggressive portfolio, you're going to have higher allocation to stocks, real estate, risky investments. That will give you high returns, but you're going to have some periods of some low returns as well. Moderate, you're going to have a balanced allocation between stocks and bonds, and if you go out to the market, they tell you that if you're a moderate or a balanced, the amount of the percentage of stocks that you have in your portfolio is 1 minus your age. So most of you should have at least 85%, between 85 and 80% invested in stocks. And the real risky people will probably have 90 or 95%. And the conservative people will have a much higher proportion in cash. As I noticed, some people never use up the entire $100,000 to buy stocks. They still have quite a bit in cash, and that's the ultra-conservative person. Martin, I noticed your portfolio, you have a lot of it in cash.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell me that you're aggressive. How you justify that?
I'm asleep.
What happens to investors that fall asleep? Anybody knows?
They lose money.
They lose.
Yes.
And seriously, when you do this for real, I mean, I really encourage you, and I'm going to keep the game open for as long as I can. Practice in the game. When you're doing this for real, it takes a lot of time. You have to pay attention. Okay. And this is the moment you have all been waiting for. Get back in your groups. Or before we get that, should we ask them how the portfolio going?
Yeah.
Folks, anybody brave enough to tell me how your portfolio is going? Or you think? What's that?
First place.
You're first place? You sure? What's your name?
The boy signing name Aiden.
Aiden?
Aiden? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you're happy with it? What the rest? Yeah, since you're in first place, you're going to share your secret with the rest of the class, or you're going to keep that on the wrap? You don't. Oh, okay. All right. What? Anybody wants to comment on your portfolio? I mean, the first place. People are anxious to say that they're in first place. Anybody want to talk about their portfolio? Huh? Okay, yours is a work in progress. All right, what I want you to do for the remainder of the time that we have here, which is about an hour and 15 minutes. I want you to, one, spend some time And think about how diversified your portfolio is. Right? Yes? Everybody with me? Although I know I'm already gone into the game. Folks, what did I just say a while ago? Okay, so I want you to take some time and look how well you have diversified your portfolio. And what I mean by diversify your portfolio, what percentage you have invested in stocks, and what percentage you have invested in cash. That's the first level of diversification. The second level of diversification, are you selecting stocks from different sectors? All right, let me say that again. As you assess the diversification in your portfolio, I want you to think about what percentage you have in stocks, what percentage you have in cash, and at the second level is how many different industries you are in, and that is particularly true for the ones who say that they are conservative. Yes? We agree? And what's the other thing that I want you to think about? Oh yeah, which is basically the same as, one more question before you get into your game. Ask amongst your group members where they land on the risk profile scale, right? The challenge we're going to have, folks, listen up, listen up. The challenge we're going to have, everybody listening to me? The challenge we're going to have is that you may end up with different risk profile within your group. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to determine a risk profile for your group, right? So there might be a little bit of negotiation, but for the exercise, for the game, for the competition, I want you to determine, I want you to select a risk profile for the group, and then, because we're going to ask you tomorrow and the day after, what's the risk profile for your group, and then we're going to look and see how you allocate that.